What is up, guys? Welcome back to this Who Dat Breakdown episode of the Jenks Island podcast, the only NFL podcast where year takes from a washed-up Division III cornerback. I'm your host, Grayson Jenkins, and in today's episode, I'm going to be breaking down the Saints draft picks, who I think their starting quarterback will be for this season, their expectations on the season, what the hell is going on with the Derek Carr situation, and the rival draft classes, the Bucs, the Falcons, and the Panthers. Some fans think they had really good draft classes, but I'm going to be diving into those and what I think as well. So getting right into the Saints draft class, the Saints drafted Kelvin Banks Jr. in the first round, Tyler Shough in the second round, Vernon Broughton and Jonas Sanker in the third, Danny Stutzman and Quincy Riley in the fourth, Devin Neal in the sixth, Maliki Medaveo, I pronounce it wrong every single time, I believe, when I say that, and Fidel Diggs in the seventh round as well. This is a solid draft class overall. It kind of shows that the Saints are more into the rebuilding phase versus trying to constantly win like they did the last 3 years. They kind of recognize with Kellen Moore coming over and all these new coaches coming over that, hey, let's get into this the new era. Let's rebuild, get solid pieces at each position that we draft and go from there. In the first round, obviously, Kelvin Banks, right, is another O lineman taken in the first round. We've seen that over the last few years, O lineman being taken in the first round for the Saints and D lineman as well. But they're really trying to build the trenches with Kellen Moore. It makes sense. Kelvin Banks across from Tali Fuaga in basically in the O-line could be a really good scheme unless they want to go Tali Fuaga on the left side, Kelvin Banks Jr. at left guard, and then Trevor Penning at right tackle, which is also a possibility right now, according to Nick Underhill. We'll see what they decide on. They're going to try everything in the preseason. They really are going to go all out, see what the best possible O-line is to protect that second round pick in Tyler Shough. But before I get into Tyler Shough, I want to say with the number one, the first round pick, I was kind of hoping we went Tyler Warren there. I was kind of wanting a big body target for whoever our quarterback is, because we all knew that we're kind of going to take a quarterback in the first or second round if we traded up in the first, or in the second round if we stayed at 40. But Kelvin Banks Jr., after watching some more tape on him, I feel like it's a really solid pick. I think he could be really good for us, whether that be at tackle or guard. When I was watching tape and we broke him down, all the O linemen down in our episode back in, I think it was February, I went kind of through. And I didn't really think Kelvin Banks was bad, right? I think Ty and Hammer, who I broke down all of the O-linemen with, they both were a lot more low on him than I was. They said, watch the Georgia tape. And I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, yeah, Ewers is not a good quarterback. And I see him moving around in the pocket like he shouldn't be and getting himself sacked. And there's like the one play that the Falcons went out and posted of their rookie taking on Kelvin Banks, getting a sack after 3 or 4 seconds had gone by, and Quinn Ewers is 10 yards deep in the pocket. At that point in time, he needs to step up, and that's not on Kelvin Banks. That's on him. So I didn't see a lot of bad tape in the Georgia game, but I think he could be a really, really solid prospect for us out of Texas. In the second round pick, we took Tyler Shough, obviously hoping to be the franchise quarterback for Kellen Moore. It's his own guy, right? This is kind of the key with this taking a quarterback for Kellen Moore is you are going to getting your guy. That's what all eyes are going to be on this whole off season as we get ready for the season. And if you can get that starting job from Spencer Rattler or Derek Carr, if he somehow comes back, I'll get into that in a little bit. But Tyler Shough is a guy that is most polarizing quarterback prospect outside of Shedeur Sanders, obviously with what happened with Shedeur Sanders in the draft this year. But Tyler Shough is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde right now. On social media, you'll see a lot of people posting the one throw. I forgot who he was playing, but he has a play where he's rolling out right, feels pressure, and just chucks it up underhand like it's a grenade or something. And it is possibly the worst throw I've ever seen from a quarterback draft prospect. But then you'll see other throws like against Notre Dame where he throws rolling out left, squares up his shoulders, throws the ball at it like to his 3 o'clock with a defender crushing him in between 3 defenders in the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, it is one of the best throws I've seen from a rookie prospect in a long, long time. So, I mean, you see both sides of the coin. So if Tyler Shough, if he can get into the NFL, avoid injuries, he's a 7-year vet in college. Obviously, that's one of the big talking points for him. But he has a very talented arm. He can throw the ball from numerous arm angles, can scramble, can run, which is something that we would like to see from him in the NFL. I think at Louisville, that was kind of coached out, right? But at Oregon and Texas Tech, you see him be a little bit more mobile, run the ball a little bit more. And I think at Louisville, they kind of wanted to avoid that to avoid injuries, things like that. But Kellen Moore's offense could have some more RPOs in there, could have him scrambling or moving or throwing the ball in the run a little bit more. And I think that could be really something that helps him take that starting job and could help him start and succeed in the NFL. So I'm really excited to see what he does. I think Tyler Shough, right? There are a lot of negatives for the Saints fans out there. Everyone is hating on Tyler Shough, right? But I think as a Saints fans, we're starting to be won over, and it comes with things like this. So for all the listeners out there, I'm pulling up the tweet that he sent out that said he would basically give his all for the Saints fans out there, for New Orleans, things like that. On Instagram, he said that he would die for the New Orleans Saints on the field. He would die for the black and gold. That was a little bit extreme. I don't want any player to. I mean, obviously, it's like he's showing he's dedicated, things like that. But you don't ever want to hear a player say like die, because that's obviously taking it a little bit far. It's football at the end of things. But anyways, I think Tyler Shough, when he says something like this, it shows that he's all in for the Saints fans out there, and it's something that we didn't really see from Derek Carr in his whole tenure as a Saints fan. And again, I will get into Derek Carr's situation later, but it just shows that he is truly dedicated to the city and this team. And it won a lot of Saints fans over. As you can see, the number of interactions with this tweet are pretty large. Like it's a pretty big following. He probably gained a lot of Saints fans and followers from this, but a lot of Saints fans just recognize it and see the dedication that he's going to put in. And it opened a lot of people's minds to the possibility of him being the franchise quarterback. And I'm excited to see what he does. I think a good chant would be "Shuck it." If he ever scores a touchdown, it'd be really funny. Just a bunch of people yelling "Shuck it" at the opposing team. Something like that. There's going to be a lot of different nicknames, catchphrases if he does well in the NFL. So I'm excited to see what happens there as well. Another tweet that was posted today regarding Tyler Shough, I think it was today or yesterday, was that he went to Drago's. I think it's Drago's. I'm not a New Orleans native. I apologize to any New Orleans fans out there if I'm mispronouncing it. I've never had the pleasure of eating there. But to be honest, I'm not a seafood fan, so it is not really in my wheelhouse. Anyways, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that. Put some comments down below if that is an absolute travesty. I know it is for most Saints fans out there, but this is a New Orleans staple, and him going there versus Derek Carr going to Chipotle for his first meal in New Orleans already wins him lots of points on the Saints fandom board, right? I mean, the Who Dat fans out there, including myself, just see this as he's dedicated to the city. He's there already. He's trying to come in and really just give it all to New Orleans and the city. So I'm really excited for that. Anyways, next, I will say at the second round pick, if we didn't take a quarterback, I would want to go Trey Amos at the second rounder at pick 40. I think that would have been a really solid pick. He ended up falling to the Commies late in round 2. So they got us a little bit of a steal. I think he would have been a really good fit in our offense or in our defense. And in the third round, we took Vernon Broughton at our 71st pick, a defensive tackle out of Texas, which in my opinion was a little bit of a reach at the time, right? When I'm watching the draft and I see this pick, it was way higher than I expected. I didn't even get to watch any of his tape, right? I mean, with school, things like that, and work, I was only really able to watch like 10 to 12 guys at each position, and he wasn't one of the defensive tackles I watched. But when I watched his tape, after saying it was a reach, right? I watch him his tape, and I see where their vision is. He is a guy that moves a lot quicker than the 315 pounds that he is. He moves a lot quicker. He has a little bit of skinny legs. They called him, I think they called him chicken legs on the phone call for the draft, but the guy can move. He can really move. I want to see him be a little bit more of an anchor to be a third down guy as well, or on run down situations. But he can really move, and I think he could be a really good pass rusher in the middle. And if he pans out, I mean, that is a steal in the third round. Our second third rounder is Jonas Sanker out of UVA, a safety that can really bring the boom. And he can also play on special teams as well, which is something that I think the Saints fans out there, including myself, kind of take for granted. I think special teams is something that's really important for this team. And if you can get a guy on there that is really a staple, I mean, we saw it with Hardy. We see it with JT Gray. Like, these guys are staples on the team. And if he could be that, if not a defensive starter as well in his first year, that could be a really, really big impact for the team. But Jonas Sanker on defense had 200 plus tackles in his career and is a sure tackler. And that's exactly what this team needs on the defense, right? I mean, we've seen it the last few years. The defense is kind of falling apart. especially in the run game, especially in tackling. And I think if he comes in and is a surefire tackler, that's exactly what the Saints need. And he could be a guy that develops under Matthew and Reed in the safety room, and that would be extremely beneficial to him if he isn't a starter in year one. In our second round, or our second, something I want to note about both of those picks, Vernon Broughton, three guys that I thought we could take there instead of him. Pat Bryant, who was taken by the Broncos. I already said I put out a reel on YouTube or whatever you want to get on social media. I put out a video saying that Pat Bryant is going to be the next Michael Thomas in the NFL. And Sean Payton, after the draft, says that he envisions a similar role as Michael Thomas for Pat Bryant. So I got that call right, and I think he could have been a steal for the Saints at that pick. Azariah Thomas is another cornerback that I really wanted there, and Shough and Rattler Jr. as well. I think both of those guys could have been good scheme fits and possible good picks for the Saints at 371. And at 393, a guy that I could have seen the Saints taking there instead of Jonas Sanker if they wanted to go safety would be Xavier Watts, a guy that is my second rated safety in this class, a guy that could do a little bit of everything at the safety position. And of course, he goes to the Falcons. That was very upsetting for me. That was very, very upsetting. He went to the Falcons a couple picks after the Saints. That blew me a little bit. That was an upsetting pick. But hopefully now, hopefully he's not a great player for the Falcons, and hopefully he sucks. But anyways, the fourth round, the Saints get Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma, a guy that is a great leader on the Oklahoma team. As a Oklahoma fan myself, obviously the football team isn't what it has been in the past, but Danny Stutzman was a guy that really was a great leader. He was the cracker with the juice, as he said himself on Instagram. He's a guy that does a little bit of everything on defense, can cover. He's not the best coverage guy, but he can cover. And I think if he isn't the starter right away next to Pete Werner and Demario Davis, he could learn under Demario Davis and be the starter next to Werner in the future. This is a guy that could do everything. He's a really surefire tackler. And is, again, another great piece for this run defense for the Saints. And the second fourth rounder pick we took was Quincy Riley, cornerback out of Louisville, a guy that is another versatile pick for the Saints, right? He could be inside or outside. If you want Alontae Taylor outside, you can bump him inside. If you want Alontae Taylor back inside, you can have him go outside and train up as well. This is a guy that can literally, you watch him on tape, right? And he can play the ball as well as anyone else in this draft class. He can do a lot of great things on defense. He can tackle as well. That's something you want to see again on this team in the run defense. You want to see the team be better at tackling, and all three of these last three picks do that. And so I want to see what he does this offseason. If he can develop into a starting corner, that would be a steal in the fourth round. Even if he's our second round, even if he's our backup or something like that, a rotational guy, I think that's a good pick in the fourth round because we needed cornerback badly. A guy that I could have seen taken at that pick would have been Alec Iamaner, my third ranked receiver in the class. I was very, very high on him, but he had the height, the size, everything the Saints needed, and he was a really, really great run blocker as well. So I had him high on my board. But I do like the Quincy Riley pick, and I hope he pans out as well. In the sixth round, Devin Neal out of Kansas is an absolute steal at the running back position. I think this guy could be really a great pairing with Alvin Kamara in this running back room, if not Kendre Miller as well. Kendre Miller we've seen get injured in the past. He's looking to come back, just switches number 5. Got a little bit of aura to that, but Devin Neal, this guy, you see him on tape, had 3 straight over 1,000-yard rushing seasons in college, is a guy that, his patience is absolutely ridiculous. His anticipation as well. He'll jump cut through a hole. He will see a hole from 4 yards away and turn his head and just jump cut, go to it, and burst down the field. He's not a home run hitter, right? He's not going to go for an 80-yard touchdown. He doesn't have that kind of speed, but he can get you 20-yard chunk runs just like that. And that's something the Saints have really missed. So if you pair him up with Alvin Kamara out of the backfield, it could be a really good match in this Kellen Moore offense. In the 7th round, the Saints took Maliki Mataveo. He's a big tight end, right? 6'6", a little bit heavier. I think he's like 260. He's a guy that can fight for a roster spot, right? The 7th round pick, you're just throwing a dart at the dartboard, right? You're not; these aren't surefire guys, but they can compete in the training camp and be a solid player on the team. This is a guy that bigger body tight end, could be a blocker, could be a nice target for Shough as well. So I like the pick in the 7th round. In the 2nd round, the second 7th rounder is Fadil Diggs, a guy that could be a really, really solid pick in this draft. He's really productive, came out of Syracuse, didn't get to watch much of his tape before the draft, but after watching some of his tape, this guy that's a Syracuse captain, was productive, could be a nice edge. And honestly, if we're thinking about it, I'd rather take an edge like this that could be a nice piece versus taking a project defensive end in the first round that you don't know what they really are. This is a guy that was productive in college, does do like he did do solid things on the field. You're taking him in the seventh round. It's not a lot of risk, but it could be really, really high reward. Um, Really quick, I just want to talk about this real quick. I mentioned Pat Bryant before, but RJ Harvey was my other guy that I was really, really high on. I wish the Saints could have gotten him somehow, but it didn't really fit in their draft scheme, obviously. But both of those guys going to Sean Payton in Denver hurt me a little bit to my core, but I will adopt the Broncos as my second team this season just because of those two guys. I want to see them succeed. And I think they would have been like the perfect fit for the Saints. And I think he's building like kind of like the Saints from when I was younger, right? The 2017 and on Saints, there's 2016 and on Saints, I should say. That's what he's building over there, is what it feels like. And Pat Bryant and RJ Harvey are the perfect picks for him to do that. Anyways, starting QB. This is where things get interesting for the Saints. The starting QB is going to be between Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough. And I don't think Derek Carr will come back for this. I don't think he has any shot at coming back to this team. I don't think Kellen Moore wants that back in the locker room, anything like that. And shout out to Nick Underhill. Something he's mentioned is that maybe Derek Carr comes out, and the best way for him to play it would be to, even if he has surgery, come back to the team, get to the locker room, and coach up these rookies. Show to other teams that you are willing to be the rookie and Spencer Rattler, and show to other teams that you are dedicated to your team. You're willing to help young players, things like that could really benefit Derek Carr and his future career. But as far as playing time goes, I don't think Derek Carr steps foot on the field again for the Saints as a quarterback. I think the starting quarterback will be Tyler Shough. I think Kellen Moore, obviously, you take him at 240. He's going to be your guy. You have a role envisioned for him, and barring injury or setback, or he just really is terrible in training camp, which I don't see happening. I don't think you can start Spencer Rattler, at least for the full season. Maybe you start Spencer Rattler for a few games and see if he can be something solid for you as well. But I really see Tyler Shough getting the majority of the starts for this Saints team this season. And that leads me to expectations, right? Expectations for this season. What the hell is going to go happen on the field this year? What is the Saints record going to be? Are they trying to win? Are they trying to tank for Arch Manning next year? All these things are being discussed on Saints Twitter and everything like that. But here are my thoughts. I think the Saints win 4 to 5 games. They have a really weak schedule, but if you look at it, all the teams that we're playing had solid drafts or have developed over the last year, have gotten a lot better. And here's my thing. If the Saints win 4 to 5 games, but Tyler Shough plays really, really well, I would say well is like 3,000 yards passing, 20 plus touchdowns, and less than 12 or 13 picks in his rookie year. I mean, if he looks solid while doing that, of course, we didn't go and get another receiver for him. So his targets aren't the best outside of Olave and Shaheed. And he could be limited if injuries occur, things like that. But if he has those numbers and we focus on the run game this year, I'd be happy with that. I think there's a lot to build on for that. But I mean, 4 to 5 wins, that leads you into a nice draft pick for next season. You can go get a best player available, things like that, instead of a quarterback. So I think no matter the win percentage, I just want to see Tyler Shough play well. And the dream scenario, obviously, is you have a CJ Stroud type rookie season where you go to the playoffs. He carries you to the playoffs. Jaden Daniels type rookie season where he carries it to playoffs. And I've seen people talking about, hey, who's going to be the next Texans? Who's going to be the next Commies? And it could be the Saints. We don't know yet. We'll see. I really don't expect that to happen. It'd be awesome. I would love if the Saints came out and were the next Commies or the next Texans. I would absolutely love it. And it would rejuvenate New Orleans and the franchise. And it would be absolutely awesome. But I don't see that happening next year. 2 years, 3 years down the road, maybe the Saints could do that. And it'd be awesome. I just want to see the Saints get back to what we were before. Obviously, he's never going to be Drew Brees. Drew Brees is one of one. And I don't see that happening. But Tyler Shough coming to the team, being a solid quarterback, and taking us back to being good would be amazing for the franchise, the city, and everyone cheering on the Saints. Anyways, now we get into the Derek Carr situation where we've obviously all seen Derek Carr, the injury gets leaked. I think it was like the 11th of April, Friday afternoon. I'm driving to UVA to visit my friends, and I get a notification pop up. Derek Carr might miss the 2025 NFL season. And I say, what the hell? What the hell is going on? I mean, he was fine two minutes ago. It was just a hand injury. And now it's his shoulder, his throwing shoulder of all things. He can't throw the football. What the hell? And this comes after news that the guy wants to leave the Saints. He wants to get traded. He wants to get moved on from by the Saints. So is he actually injured, or is he just trying to get the hell out of Dodge in New Orleans? But then the last couple of days, he goes, he does a service at church in Las Vegas and talks about people not knowing the truth before giving opinions. That no one should have these opinions. Gives a little bit of a scoff. Nick Underhill talked about this. Gives a little bit of a scoff to Diana Rossini in her reporting. It was really unnecessary, and it honestly made things a lot worse for himself. Did not look good. Made Saints fans even more mad. So I just don't see him coming back for the Saints. Then news comes out, I think yesterday, that Derek Carr had a miscarriage with his wife and his family, and that's something that's terrible, right? You never want to hear that. So prayers up to Derek Carr and his family for that. But outside of that, there's so much better ways that this could have been covered. I mean, Derek Carr could have talked to someone. He could have told anyone. He could have told the team. He could have announced to the fan base that, hey, I'm injured. Things like this. Instead of just letting it sit there. He didn't go to Mardi Gras. He hasn't been around the city. He wasn't there for the Super Bowl. He's been in California, Las Vegas, doing his own thing, and has just really just been weird. It's a weird absence to be away from the city, not caring for the city, not caring for the fans, not showing love to the fans, things like that. And obviously, the Saints fans haven't shown love to him. But numerous former players always say this: you show love to Saints fans in the city, they will show love to you. So, Derek Carr, if you're out there, show some love to the fans. Maybe you can win back a few of them. But right now, it's looking really bad, really bleak. Don't see it coming back. Don't see him stepping on the field again. And I think that's what he wants. I think he wants that in New Orleans. Hopefully, I don't know if trading him really provides any benefit. If you're not able to trade him, hopefully he comes back and just helps coaching up Tyler Shough and Spencer Rattler. That's probably the best case scenario for the Saints at this point. But I don't think he ever steps back on the field for the Saints playing ever again. Now, moving on from the Saints, this is still relevant, right? I mean, we get into the rival draft classes, right? The Panthers, really solid draft class. T-Mac, Terrell McMillan in the first round, Nick Scorton in the second round, Princely, Umain, I have no clue how to pronounce the last name, but Princely out of Ole Miss, really, really solid edge. And Nick Scorton, really solid edge. Trevor Etienne, a guy that I really liked in the running back class this year. Lathan Ransom, another solid safety, and a few other guys not as important. But those all are role players for the Panthers. And obviously they give T-Mac to Bryce Young, who was developing towards the end of last season. He looked good at the end of the last year. So the Panthers are a rising team. They filled a lot of needs that they needed on the team. I would have expected them to go a little bit more defense, honestly, but the offense, if their offense is playing well, they could win a few more games. So this either hurts the Saints in the eyes that maybe they could beat us twice this year instead of just the one time last year, or it helps the Saints, gives the Saints a better draft pick if they're better than us. So two ways to look at that. The Falcons, I see the Foul Clowns, they have a good draft picks, but the way they went about it was not great, right? They take Jalen Walker in the first round. I was not high on Jalen Walker. I think he could end up being a bust. He's more of like a project edge to me, in my opinion. And that's similar to what the Saints fans have. So I was really happy when to take him. That it would have been PTSD for me, at least. I don't know how other Saints fans felt about him. But then they traded back up in the first round for James Pierce Jr., who I love. I think he was my second ranked defensive edge in this class. And I think he could be a really solid player. But they traded their first round pick next year for him. So you don't know if Michael Penix is going to be good, right? He could suck. And then you don't have a first rounder next year. So it was a great deal for the Rams, I believe, who they traded with. But for them, a little bit of a reach, but they got a good solid pick out of it. And then they got Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman Jr., two safeties that I really love, right? I think Billy Bowman Jr., I talked about it in the safety rankings episode. He's Tyrann Mathieu light. Obviously, misses a lot more tackles. His tackling was an issue, but he flies around the field, led college football and pick sixes last year. He is a guy that can do a little bit of everything at the safety position, and he's just a little ball of chaos on the field. And I love watching him play as an OU fan. So I really wanted the Saints to go get him, but him going to the Foul Clowns just was it was a dagger to the heart. It was a dagger to the heart. But I'd love to see him kind of see how he plays for the Falcons, but I want to see him suck. I want to see him suck now. Which I hate to say, I love you, Billy Bowman, but out on the Foul Clowns, you gotta suck. You gotta suck. Then the final draft class, this was by far the best in the division, right? You got Emeka Ibuka to the Bucks. The Buccaneers here. Emeka Ibuka, Benjamin Morrison, who is that's a possibility that the injury might be hurting him there, but his draft reaction was awesome. He was really emotional. He was excited. I mean, that was an awesome moment for him. But he went to the Buccaneers, so I didn't really want to see him play well. Anyways, then they go Jacob Parrish in the third round, who's another corner that I was really, really high on. He was like my guy in the late. I didn't think he was going to go this early, but I was high on him. David Walker, a guy that I really love in the edge position, a small school guy. I think it was FCS or D2. So a lot of people didn't really look at him. He's a smaller edge, but he had a lot of production and had a lot of good tape. Then they go Elijah Roberts and Tez Johnson in the later rounds. But I love this draft for them. Mika Ibuka, I mean, maybe that Chris Godwin injury is a little bit more lagging and nagging than we thought it was. Maybe he's going to be out a little bit longer than we thought he was. But this Emeka Ibuka pick, he was outside of T-Mac the best receiver in this draft by far. I think he's a lot better than a guy like Matthew Golden or Luther Burden. This guy can do everything. He can be a great slot in the NFL for years. And I see him doing that for the Buccaneers, and it sucks. Benjamin Morrison, a guy that could be really solid at the quarterback position. Jacob Parrish, another guy that can do a little bit of everything for them at the cornerback position. This is a great draft class. It's just, and here's my thoughts. Maybe it's just because it's a little bit more flashy, right? In the Saints. I mean, we look at the Saints draft class. There's not a lot of flash. Not a lot of flashiness outside of Devin Neal. Kelvin Banks, kind of boring. Tyler Shough, boring. And I don't mean boring in a bad way. They're not the flashy pick. Vernon Broughton, not a flashy pick. Jonas Senker, there's some there. Danny Stutzman. I mean, there's a little bit more. But there's not a lot of flash in this draft class, but it filled needs. They didn't trade up. They kept all their picks. They got some UDFAs. And we all love the UDFAs, right? For the Saints. We always are cheering them on. We always hope that there's one or two that pan out and join the team and ball out for them every season. And there is one, Marcus Yarns from Delaware, that I think could be that guy. He looks really solid, but I'm excited to see what he does on the field. Anyways, I mean, in conclusion, I think the Saints draft class, it's solid. I want to see how they play out. But this is a multiple year draft class right here. You draft these guys as the foundation. There's multiple captains, multiple productive, and guys. I think 8 out of the 9 played more than, I want to say it was like 75% of the games this year. They were healthy. All were healthy except for Tyler Shough, obviously, in their careers. So I want to see them all come in and be productive, be guys that can play on this team wherever we need them. And that would be an awesome draft class. You don't need to be amazing. You don't need to be Pro Bowlers. Outside of obviously Kelvin Banks, you expect to be a first round in the top 10. You expect to be a Pro Bowler, hopefully an All Pro. We'll see. But outside of that, you just want to see these guys be productive and be impactful in the Saints year one, and then go from there and develop a little bit more. Anyways, that'll do it for this episode of the Who Dat Breakdown Jenks Island podcast. I will see you guys next time. I think the next Saints episode I'll do will probably be in a few weeks after rookie mini camp and some of the other camps, probably in June, something like that, as we get more into the offseason. I'm hoping the Saints go and get Keenan Allen. But anyways, let me know what you guys think down below. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe if you guys enjoyed the content. If you guys are Saints fans out there, comment Who Dat down below. And I will see you guys next time. Who Dat. See you guys next week.